And we welcome you to another edition of This is Wrestling. It is Lee Versage, along with the one and only and one and the same Hornswoggle and Zach McGibbon, both going to be in Ottawa soon because they are the same person. Zach, when are you going to be in Ottawa?
Well, first of all, Lee, thanks again for having me on each and every week. I am not Hornswoggle. I have addressed this slanderous, libelous, whatever you want to call it. It's all a lie. I am not Hornswoggle. But the real Hornswoggle is going to be showing up in Ottawa for Acclaim Pro Wrestling later in October. So as I'll tell you this, Lee, as soon as it was announced, my phone was blown up from people both in and out of the business telling me about and congratulating me on the booking. And
that's what I mean. You're getting paid, right? You're going to be there.
Main event attraction.
Are you going to be there, Zach?
Let's just say that there's work being done behind the scenes to be there.
Well, you're booked on the show.
I'm not Hornswoggle. We've established this. I am not Hornswoggle.
You tried to establish it. People that have their head on their shoulders. And I mean people like me and Tanner Reil. Both of us know exactly that you're going to be there, Hornswoggle's going to be there, and you're going to try and pretend that two people are going to be there.
Be like WrestleMania 9 with the two doinks in the middle of the ring, and we do the mirror spot. That's what we'll do.
I'm going to show up. I'm going to get one of my, my friend's kids or something to show up, dress up as Hornswoggle, and then you'll all do the three-way mime.
Oh, there you go. Or we could do the Spider-Man meme. Somebody recommended that, where we do the Spider-Man pointing meme as well. Endless possibilities with Hornswoggle showing up in Ottawa for Acclaim Pro Wrestling. Ironically enough, if I'm able to go, if everything works out, this would be the first time I've been able to go to an Acclaim show, funny enough. I've always had the opportunity, just never been able to capitalize on it, and it feels like this is the best opportunity to show up in Acclaim and meet my rival in one Hornswoggle.
I was going to say I'll kick you in the shins, but you'll both kick each other in the shins. Same person, same height, same thing.
October 26th, by the way, for those wondering when that show is happening. So,
all right. Well, as we record this on a Sunday night, I am full of rage as to my football team.
Yeah, same here.
Like full of rage, like throwing things or like being tossed out of the stands on NFL Sunday. Oh, wait a minute. That was Seth Rollins.
Ah, yes. His Caleb Williams jersey.
Oh, boy. Oh, I'm so glad Tanner Reil is also with us today. Tanner, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Very much looking forward to Acclaim later this month. Zach, you mentioned you've never been. I've never been either, but if you're coming out, let me know. Maybe we'll make this both of our first.
There you go.
Be there for your big Ottawa debut.
Well, exactly. I mean, I
hope they met your booking fee there. I know it's pretty steep.
I demand a high price on my booking fee.
Private jet, That's
all right. That. I'm going over too, brother. Like, that's how it works.
Even if the ref counts shoulders that just aren't down whatsoever.
That's right. I'll deliver the lightest chair shot in the history of professional wrestling as well.
So Zach, just to let everybody know, Zach sends me now at least a Hogan clip a week, maybe two, just in case I need any more rage in my life, and maybe the softest chair shot in the history of the world. Zach sent me this week, and like, it is so bad, it is laughable funny.
I think it was on to Horace Hogan, if I recall, who took the bump. So maybe that's why. Didn't want to hurt a family member too hard.
He couldn't have hurt a fly.
I think there are people that play whack-a-mole that hit harder than Hogan did in that clip.
Well, I know things that were hit hard, and that was the crowd at C4.
Ah, there you go.
Nice segue.
There's one professional on this show when Zach and I are on, and Tanner, thanks for making it too. Yeah, so C4 on Friday night. And Tanner, you're always welcome to join us on this program. It doesn't have to be a C4 show, but when I get texts from Tanner on a Friday night at like 11:30, midnight, and you gotta check this out. Go, something major has happened, and we do have a new C4 champion in Evil Uno over Junior Benito, and we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about some other things in the world of professional wrestling, and we'll talk about the WWE.
Do we have to?
Yeah, I can't actually do this show. I got to get going, guys. You know.
Wow.
No, but
Look
guys,
at the time.
Guys, they went to Georgia Tech.
Oh, yes, that's right.
They went to the field, and people calling it pure genius, pure cinema. One company knows how and understands and gets it, while the other company doesn't.
That's right. Cinema. My
I heard
favorite
they're
word.
sending that off to the Emmys. Some people were telling me on Twitter.
We'll see how they do when they get there.
Hasn't the Emmys already happened?
I think it just happened.
Yeah, did it just happen?
Yeah, well,
to me, it just shows how many wrestling fans don't watch actual television.
This is very true.
But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah,
it is. So, but we will talk about those things and more. But Tanner, as I led off with, Evil Uno, your new C4 wrestling champion, and wow. You right away were texting me like, you got to check this one out. You got to see it. Soon after, I was able to watch the Evil Uno promo that C4 put out right after he won in his backstage promo, and then ended up seeing the match, fortunately, from you, Zach, and some other context, because I think we needed to see what happened here. And boy, Junior Benito got beat up. And okay, so Tanner, let's take us through it here right away. When both of them were coming to the ring, did you think it was possible that Evil Uno could win?
No, and I know this is something we talked about last month on the show when this was all booked. I think you were really Reagan, Zach, and I being like, why would they book this? You know, there's no shot. Uno's going to take it. And Zach and I were a little less of that mindset, but still easily picked Benito going into it. I think even when they were making their entrances, you could tell something was different with Uno. He wasn't his usual fun-loving self, or dancing when the crowd started doing the sexy Uno thing. And then the entire introductions, he was sitting on the bottom rope. So I could tell there was something a little bit different, but I don't think it quite hit me until they got actually into the match. And I think the specific moment was after Benito did the clap them cheeks thing, and Uno slapped him across the face and said, "Hey, take this seriously, Junior." That's where the doubt started to seep in. But even as the match kind of progressed and Uno was really putting him on his back foot, I still thought there was a possibility that, hey, maybe Benito was going to pull this big comeback out. But towards the end, I was like, they're actually going to do this. And I thought it was a brilliant angle, and I loved it. I've never heard that reaction at the Preston before. And yeah, but to answer your question, going into it, no, I thought Benito was going to retain.
So what reaction was that?
It was the quietest I've ever heard that building after a main event. Just the shock when Benito passed out and the bell rang, and just the insane visual of Uno in the all white shirt covered in blood. I mean, Benito really got some color in that match. I've never seen that reaction before. Every time I've been to a C4 show, it's ending with cheers or a standing ovation, or, you know, maybe in the case of Twiggy, some words being thrown towards the ring and some boos. But I've never heard the Preston completely silent, and just the gravity of the situation of Uno holding the title and looking down at like McCray Martin over a bloody Junior Benito who's out cold. It was just insane. And I'm really looking forward to how they're going to follow this up. Such a shocking moment. One of the best angles I think I've ever seen C4 book, and I loved every second of it.
I think that's, Zach, what professional wrestling is, right? And we've talked a lot on this show about predictability, and that wrestling's at its best when, for those who are going or those who think that they know, that it's unpredictable. And Seems like on Friday night that was the case here for C4.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting because we posted our review from Fighting Back, and Mark was listening into the show. For those that are new to the program, Mark, the creator and booker of C4 Wrestling, he was listening along, and I remember getting a message saying, "I'm loving the Evil Uno Junior Benito discussion right now," and kind of left it at that. And I thought, that's an interesting a comment he laid listening into the show. And then lo and behold, you have this angle here. And so thanks to C4, we were able to check it out early. At least I was able to. They sent over a link to check out the show. So I was able to watch this match and see the angle unfold. And I thought this was tremendous. This was speaking to me, this angle. It was a lot of what Tanner mentioned, where it's Evil Uno saying, "Let's get serious here. You know, we're having this big match," and it started off as your kind of regular professional wrestling match, your regular main events where, you know, they're trying to get a feel for each other and they're building up the big teacher versus student aspect of the match. And really the turning point of that match was when they were on the outside. And Uno, I think it was a monkey flip to Junior Benito into the corner, and Benito hits his face into the post, and as Tanner mentioned, he is bleeding. Like it was a good Crimson Mask too, and they had these great camera shots of some of the blood that was dripping down from Junior Benito during the match, and as you mentioned, this was really just an extended ass whipping. The first match that kind of came to my mind was that Brock Lesnar John Cena match a couple of years ago at SummerSlam, where it was Brock Lesnar just beating the crap out of Cena. Cena would have some of the hope spots coming in, but then Lesnar would just go back to beating him up. And this is what this match reminded me of. Just an extended beatdown. Obviously, you have a little bit of color in there, and Uno just being relentless in the beatdown as well. This was great. I love this, and I think this got the desired reaction too, because one of the things we were talking about when it comes to AEW and some of the angles they were doing, and I enjoyed the bag angle, but one of the things that you and I, Lee, we talked about was the reaction from the crowd, and, you know, them chanting, "This is murder," right? And it seems like an innocuous thing, but when you're trying to put over a big serious angle and you get a comedic crowd reaction to that, it lessens the impact of the angle. In this case, when, at least from my watch through on the show, it was like what Tanner mentioned. It was a silence. It was this uncomfortableness, but in a good way, about what was going on with the match and the finish of the match as well. And Uno immediately rolling out of the ring, going to the back, and that promo that they shared on social media was also included in the edit as well. And Uno cut this fantastic promo and really kind of set the table for this new season of C4 Wrestling. I thought this was a tremendous angle, and this is a different side of Uno we didn't really expect. And this is kind of a new avenue I've seen from him, at least me personally, because I'm usually used to, as Tanner mentioned, the sillier side, the goofier side of Evil Uno. You can even see that through the mystery wrestling shows that they put together, where it's a little bit more on the comedic side. But this is a much more serious Evil Uno, and I am fascinated to see where this goes now.
Well, I don't think there's any question, and Tanner, you were there to give us a firsthand account. I love what Zach just said, is that no matter what you're trying to do, ultimately what you're trying to do is leave the crowd joyous or, oh my God, like, what did we just see? And you're trying to leave them in some state. And the crowd chanting, "This is murder" in AEW, nah, that's not really doing it for me. But as you said, Tanner, to leave them in silence, to go, holy bleep, what the heck just happened here? And that's how everyone was feeling. That's a great job by everybody. By Uno, by Benito, by Mark, by everyone running the company, because that's what wrestling is about. It's about giving those moments to fans, and they don't always have to be joyous, happy, crazy, good, feel good moment at the end of a show. You just have to feel something, right? Like, it's about what a wrestler is. It's about Zach. You've been in media for a while, and I was in media for a long time. Sometimes it doesn't matter what people are feeling towards you, as long as they're feeling something. And apathy is kind of the worst.
Yep.
But you can't just be joyous all the time. And as long as they were feeling something, it doesn't matter that they were silent. That's a feeling in itself. And Tanner, I think from what you're saying, as a person who goes to C4 all the time, everyone was stunned. And I think when you do that, now you have people here for the beginning of the year. And Tanner leaving that place, I'm sure everyone was kind of looking at each other, right? Going, what just happened?
Yeah. It's definitely a level of a feeling I haven't felt at the Preston in a while. Maybe since Benito won the title, or I always go back to that 60-minute time limit draw between Grayson and Blackwood, probably 2 years ago now, but it was incredible. I went back and watched the broadcast version of this that Mark sent over, just because I really wanted to kind of experience the broadcast point of view as well. So I did that about half an hour before we recorded, and it came off incredible on there too. I really want to shout out the commentators on this, because I think they did a great job at breaking down the story of something I didn't even realize, is that Uno hadn't been pinned since the COVID lockdown. And, he's on the back half of his career. This is probably his last shot at winning the C4 title. Really sold that for me, and the whole teacher-student thing. But yeah, this angle was incredible. I don't know if C4 is going to be able to top it for me. I think at the end of the year, I'm still going to be talking about this match. And I'm sure no matter where they go from this, I assume Uno's going to have a pretty dominant run for a little while. I think whoever takes that title off of him, whether it's Benito or one of these other young guys building themselves up, they're going to feel pretty important, and it's going to be quite the moment when they do. But you talk about feelings. I mean, it's such a contrast from fighting back, where he won the Rumble and everyone was kind of happy of like, okay, Uno's getting his shot here. Good for him. He's never won the C4 title. It's a nice student teacher thing. Nobody thinks he's actually going to win, but the feel good moment, good for this guy at fighting back, to going into this where he just beats the hell out of the hometown babyface that he trained, leaving him in a bloody pool, staring down at McCray Martin on his knees, which, by the way, we got to see that match. McCray Martin and Evil Uno. That's a no-brainer right now in my mind for next month or the month after or whatever. But yeah, the feeling that it was like a pit in my stomach almost, to seeing Uno just leaving him bloodied with all the faces around him on their knees. Yeah, it's a reaction that you don't get every month when you go to C4. It comes few and far between, but when they get these big moments, they hit, and you'll be thinking about it for a while. So yeah, that's what wrestling is to me, is leaving those feelings, and whether it be despair or joy when someone wins the title or something. But wrestling's all about moments, and C4, Mark, you outdid yourselves on Friday night.
Right. Everyone leaving the Preston Event Center will remember what happened at the end of the night. And I think that's what you want. Okay, so where do they go? It looks like Evil Uno will be around now, which I think is a good thing. And I think some of the reason why we didn't think that was possible, because we didn't expect that Evil Uno would be on every show. But I'm supposing that is going to change.
I think he's been fairly consistent on, I'd say 9 out of 10 shows since COVID. So it's not shocking to me in that sense. But having him as the champion in 2024 is not what I would have expected when Benito won.
Yeah.
So where do they go? And isn't it interesting that who is on TV as we sit here on a Sunday night? Who was on TV last night? Wrestling Darby Allin.
I was going to say Evil Uno himself.
Wrestling Darby Allin. So, okay. Tanner, where do they go from here?
For
with
me,
this,
I think
with this particular angle.
just the visual you had at the end there and the attachment that he has to Benito, the two of them being tag team champions. I'd love to see McCray Martin get a shot here at Uno. Revenge for his brother there and Benito. I think if they don't have Benito on that next show to really sell things, that would be really cool. And maybe he does like a big spot at the end of the night where he comes out and comes face to face with Uno. But I'm sure we're going to get Benito and Uno again sooner or later. But I think just the way that things ended there, I'd really like to see McCray Martin get his hands on Evil Uno next.
Yeah, for me, I would love to see this title reign go all the way into the end of this season, and you do the rematch to end off this season of C4 Wrestling. What Tanner laid out there with the Hot Stepper coming in and getting a match, I think is fantastic. I think if you could also have a couple more of those students, like they mentioned London Lightning as well on commentary as being a student of Evil Uno. Maybe even if you wanted to do something unique, you could even do a Stu Grayson versus Evil Uno match. I know that Grayson's kind of in a feud right now with Sheldon Jean on this C4 show, and they had a tremendous match too, by the way, but there's a lot of opportunities here that they could go with Uno, and I hope that they're able to kind of extend it out for a long period of time and really kind of, I think one of the things with Junior, because he's such a strong babyface, that I think you could extend out his return into the title scene, because this is, for me, this is laid out where Junior is eventually going to get the title back from Uno. I think this is something that could play out in a year's time, and then you can finally have that moment to end off a season with Benito getting the title back from Uno and finally beating the master in this case. But there's a couple other matches they could do. They've been building up London Lightning strong on the shows. Hot Stepper, as Tanner mentioned, I think it'd be really cool to have a Stu Grayson versus Evil Uno match in C4 as well. So there's a lot of potential opportunity here that they could go. And I'm really interested to see where this storyline kind of weaves its way in.
The Stu Grayson point's a good one too. I didn't even think of that one, but I wonder if they don't have a match, if we see Stu taking his side and it's kind of an Evil Uno and Stu Grayson versus Junior Benito and McCray Martin.
Oh, that's a good one too.
IWTV title, the IWTV tag titles could be involved there.
That could be cool.
Maybe double champion Evil Uno.
That'd be something.
I could see that.
Evil Duo.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
I mean, there's a reason he's called Evil Uno. You know, he's done heinous things in the past, but this is a side of him we haven't seen in C4. I mean, I've never seen it in the last 3-4 years I've been going to shows. Zach, I don't know about you back in the day. If
he's definitely done heel work. None to this level though.
Right.
Certainly, I do not recall him beating somebody up to a bloody pulp and then taking the title and walking to the back and cutting a promo. I can tell you that.
I think,
guys, what you've done is lost the whole perspective here of Evil Duo, of the team winning the titles with Stu Grayson, and now they're the Evil Duo.
The Evil Duo.
Mark, are you listening? When Evil Uno comes out as singles champion, he's Evil Uno, and when he comes out with Stu Grayson after winning those titles from Benito and Martin, they're the Evil Duo.
When I think Evil Duo, I think like two villains with like a cartoon mustache and like they're twirling the little mustache saying, ha ha ha, we're an Evil Duo. That's what I think when I hear Evil Duo.
Yes, we saw the vaudevillains a while ago. Okay.
There's a callback.
Yeah, but anyway, there's a lot of different ways that they could go on this, and I like a lot of what you guys are saying. But to have kind of people lined up here, student versus teacher, and it feels like, okay, the teacher is now gonna have some lessons for some of the younger younger members of the roster before somebody can finally come back up and take it back. And that's not a bad way to go. Like it's pretty clear. Okay, you got the teacher, he's going to do whatever it takes. And then you got some guys that are trying to knock him off of his perch as the young guys coming through. It feels like a good season of wrestling coming up.
Yeah. And I want to add too, just the match itself. Some of the visuals in the match were just tremendous. Like the bloody door. Uno was in a white shirt which I guess should have been a tip off that something was going to get a little bit bloodied there, but they showed the blood as well on Uno's shirt, and again, just really, really well done. And they've been obviously been hyping it up quite a bit, and just from seeing it on our end, it's worth the hype in terms of laying out the groundwork for the rest of the season. And you also just put on the heat as well on Uno, and you get people behind Junior in terms of wanting to see him rally back and eventually get back into the title scene.
And I think it immediately fills the vacancy there of Twiggy being the big bad that's now been expelled after fighting back. Now you've got Evil Uno in that spot.
Mm.
Okay, so rest of the card, let's go through it here a little bit, Tanner.
Yeah, for sure. So our opener was Kevin Blackwood and Gabriel Fuerza. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a fantastic match. Kevin Blackwood really controlled a lot of the pace early on, but I like these two's chemistry a lot. It kind of stemmed from a tag match that they had last month where Von Vertigo and Blackwood took on Fuerza, and the other person is escaping my mind right now, but really good tag match there, and it led into this one-on-one that was very good. You had Von Vertigo running the interference there, and Blackwood picking up the win via pinfall after a pile driver. Getting all twisted up here, but I thought it was a really fun opener. Clearly building more towards the eventual Vertigo versus Fuerza. Another angle happened later on the show as well between those two, and I liked it. Thought it was a really fun opener.
Okay, good. What's next?
Next up, we had a three-way tag team matchup. Kind of going back the last couple of months, you had the tension between James Stone and Brent Banks, as the two of them had a couple matches against each other, and then were eventually put up in a tag match that was supposed to happen, I believe, a couple of shows ago, but got postponed after Brent Banks got hurt. So anyways, they were put into a three-way tag team matchup on this show. Just pulling through my notes here, if you'll bear with me.
I was able to catch, by the way, a couple of the matches after the. I know we wanted to get to that Uno match and get that in, but I was also able to bounce around with a couple of the other matches here, and this was one of them that I was able to catch.
Yeah, Project 8100, of course, C4 regulars there, and then members only making their debut, a tag team I was not familiar with going into this. But I thought it was fun. It's kind of the classic, the two guys that don't really kind of, doing the subtle shoves and stuff like that. If you think back to like Sheamus and Cesaro a number of years ago. But I thought Banks and James Stone actually worked pretty well together as a tag team. I quite enjoyed it. Brent Banks has been someone that's really impressed me since he kind of made his C4 return, and continuing to see the rise here of Project 8100 as like mainstays of this tag division. I enjoyed members only. I thought they were a solid addition to this. But I think somewhat predictably, Brent Banks and James Stone did pick up the win after Banks hit a frog splash on one of the members of members only. So I imagine we're going towards perhaps Stone and Banks challenging for the tag titles down the line, while also kind of protecting Project 8100. They weren't involved in the decision. I thought there was some good chemistry, a lot of great moves. Stone and Banks had some creative ones, but yeah, overall a really solid three-way tag. Looking forward to see where they go next with Banks and Stone.
You'll appreciate this, Lee. Members only came out in the 2000s era Phoenix Suns basketball jerseys. I couldn't tell if it was Steve Nash or Amari Stoudemire on the jerseys, but
very nice.
Yeah, it was a good look, and the whole attire was in that Phoenix Suns look. Yeah, just to kind of echo a lot of what Tanner said. This was very clearly set up to continue the story here with Stone and Banks. They were teasing a lot of the can they get along sort of aspect of this. And I think what Tanner laid out there as well, you'll eventually see these two get a title match, a tag title match in the future against TDT. So they got the job done here. It was a little bit lengthy of a match. I would have cut it down a couple of minutes personally. But as Tanner mentioned, I'm a fan of Project 8100. I really like their work. And they kind of fit my style of how I see pro wrestling. And one of the things they also mentioned on commentary was they wanted to see Hattie in Bloodsport, which I would be all for. Eventually, in the future, they've kind of tussled in C4 a bit in a tag match with Violence is Forever, but a Hattie versus Dominic Garrini match in the future would be a lot of fun, is what I just want to put out there.
Okay, let's keep going on the list, Tanner.
Yeah, so next up, we had a one-on-one matchup. One half of Violence is Forever. Zach just mentioned him. Dom Guarini taking on Von Vertigo. I enjoyed this match. I did find it a little bit clunky towards the start. I do think between the two members of Violence is Forever, Guarini is a little bit weaker in the one-on-one scenarios, but that's not a slight at all. He's still very good. Vertigo, someone that's, again, really grown on me over the last couple of years. But I thought it was a solid matchup once they really started getting going. Some solid chemistry between the two there. I know they've fought a lot in tag matches when it was Fight or Flight versus Violence is Forever. So definitely two guys that are familiar with each other. And yeah, they had a pretty solid one-on-one matchup towards the end. Forza ended up getting involved here and costing Vertigo the match, getting revenge for earlier in the night. And Guarini was able to tap out Vertigo in a clutch.
That's going to be the thing with a lot of these wrestlers that have those MMA influences, that they kind of appeal to me, but a lot of the times with those MMA influenced pro wrestlers where they're more on the in-ring shoot style, for lack of a better term, sometimes it seems like it kind of takes a little bit to get going because it's not a usual pace you would find in a pro wrestling match. That's kind of one of the things why I like it, because it's so different from a normal pro wrestling pace. But sometimes when you get that sort of stuff, there will be moments, especially with certain wrestlers, where it's not perfectly even. And I kind of share the same sentiments with you there, Tanner, where sometimes it was like Guarini wanted to work one style and Vaughn was trying to get used to that style. But this was all kind of set up for the Fuerza angle later. So this was solid.
But can we agree that this was one of the better finishers that I've seen in a long time? Like with the clutch, was it not like off the top rope into like almost like a Roderick Strong backbreaker, but right into the clutch?
Yeah, it was. He brought him up high and then brought him in for the clutch and really laid the choke. And they emphasized it on commentary how he tapped immediately to really put over the move. So I thought that was a really cool visual too.
I thought this is one of the best finishers I've seen in a while.
Oh yeah,
that was fantastic.
When I watched that the first time, I was like, yes, I believe that. Like if that were me in the grips of that, I'd be tapping out immediately as well. Mm-hmm. And I know that everyone's got to, carve out their own niche and everyone needs a different finisher, and I get it. And some are going to be better than others, but a lot of them are awful. No, they're awful.
It's true.
And we've talked about Mercedes Moné.
I was just going to bring her up too.
I know, but there are other ones that are just awful. And I love watching ones that all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, yes, that is awesome. And I think we just don't get that enough anymore. So it's great to have a review, and it's crappy that some of the match was a little clunky, and like I get it, like people trying to get used to each other's styles that aren't necessarily the same. And the Fuerza Von Vertigo feud, I think, is something that is a really good thing for C4. I just really like the finisher of this match.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get it wrong. I really did enjoy this match. I was only talking about maybe the first minute or two there when I said clunky, but once it got going, I quite enjoyed it. And Vertigo and Forza have really grown on me. And yeah, I can't wait to see them tear at each other. If I had to summarize this match to keep it kind of simple, to me, this would be like if you put Samoa Joe and Adam Cole in the ring maybe 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the vibe that I was getting here, and the styles of Guarini, very similar to Joe, and the more cocky heel in Vertigo that does some of the flashier moves. But I think once it got going, it was a fantastic match. And yeah, the finish was great there. And I'm really looking forward to Fuerza and Vertigo getting their hands on each other, because that's been building for a long time.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, so up next we have the rematch there that Zach mentioned earlier. A really good matchup between Sheldon Jean and Stu Grayson. Two hometown guys. They wrestled last month, which I believe Grayson picked up the win there. So going at it once again. I thought it was a very, very good match. I thought their match last month was also very good. I'm not sure if there's one I'd really put over the other, but yeah, it was fantastic. Sheldon Jean ended up going the heel route here and hitting a low blow there to get the win there and defeat Stu Grayson. So Sheldon Jean gets the win here, and I'm wondering maybe if we're going to see like a best out of 3 scenario or where that's going next. But I think these two have pretty good chemistry in the ring. Stu Grayson is so underrated, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes and maybe seeing Grayson involved somewhat in the main event angle there with Uno.
Yeah, for me personally, it's cool to see Sheldon Jean get more of a spotlight. He's been somebody, and they mentioned on commentary too, that he's been injured a lot. He was coming up. He wrestled in Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan, did some shots in Noah. And then the pandemic happened, and he also had some injuries that put him out. And then he also was on Big Brother Canada for a time before the pandemic hit. So
that would take anybody out.
That's right. So a lot on his plate when it came to outside of the ring. But ever since then, he's been somebody that he's with TNA, I think still, and you usually see him on the undercards at TNA and continuing to develop him. He's somebody that Scott D'Amore really likes as well. He trained at his school, that being Sheldon Jean at Scott D'Amore's school. And I believe Gene is also going to be on the on that new Maple Leaf Pro show coming up in October with Stu. So in terms of the match itself, I really like this match. You could tell these two have some very good chemistry with each other. I like the first match, but that also might be because I was there for that match and maybe a bit of a live bias. But this was still a very good match, and the way that they kind of teed it up, it has me thinking we'll probably get one more match between the two and make it like a best out of 3. And then you could add on with a caveat with, whoever wins this match goes on to face Evil Uno for the title. And I think a lot of fans would get behind that. So this was a really good match. I enjoyed it.
All right, Tanner, keep going.
Yeah, moving on, we had a tag team matchup up next, non-title match, but the C4 Tag Team Champions, TDT, taking on the current TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions in Spitfire, which is Jody Threat and Danny Luna. I'll say going into this match, it wasn't one I was particularly looking forward to, and that's just because intergender wrestling isn't my particular taste. It's not something I usually enjoy, but I'll say right off the bat, I think this is my favorite intergender wrestling match that I've ever seen.
Wow. Because
by the end of it, I was quite enjoying it. So I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. It's one that I honestly would recommend going back and watching. Very, very good. I think they made it quite believable by the end. TDT did their usual stuff where they're going to the outside, very hard hitting, but just the intensity of like Jody Threat especially made it believable of them staying in the fight until the end. And in the end, it was Pretty Ricky interfering, and I'm not sure what it was from in the arena. I didn't get back to watch this one back, but it was like a firecracker or a cap gun or something to distract TDT and cost them. Again, a couple months ago, it was TDT that took the tag titles from Pretty Ricky and Puff, so there's more going on there, maybe a rematch down the line, but I really liked this matchup, and yeah, they won me over by the end. So hats off to Spitfire and TDT. I quite like this one a lot more than I thought I would going into it.
Yeah, this tag match I wasn't able to catch on the second viewing, but I know from Danny Luna, there's a lot of people that are big on her, and obviously Jody Threat is also somebody that people are very high on when it comes to the women's wrestlers that are coming through, especially from Canada. So yeah, Danny Luna has been somebody that's been working some TNA shots, so I'll give this one a watch. I'm in the same ballpark as you there, Tanner, when it comes to intergender wrestling. It's not something that I particularly seek out, but when it comes to these matches, I've been calling those matches for a while, and they always put 100% into those matches. I can definitely tell you that. So I'll be going back and seeing how this one came out.
How many more, Tanner, we got left here?
We've got 3 more. Or sorry,
Okay.
2 more. We already talked about them. Or no, 3 more.
Keep going.
The next one up was a 8-person tag team matchup. Kristara, Cecil Nix, Crystal Moon, and Leah Sparks taking on Katrina Creed, Drea Mitchell, Dino Benjamin, and Zandra Lee. A couple of new faces in this one, less of your regular C4 talent, but Cecil Nix got the pin there in the end, getting the pin on Dino Benjamin. I thought it was a fun sort of multi-person match, but I'd say probably the weakest on the card. Less of your big names in this one. The crowd is always behind Cecil Nix, so him getting the pin doesn't really surprise me there. But I thought it was still fun. Your average multi-person tag, but nothing really to write home about here.
Yeah, the big thing, so this was one of the matches I watched, and mainly because I wanted to see a lot of the women's wrestlers that are coming into the scene right now are coming from IWS and their training academy there in Montreal. And they've just been pumping out a bunch of really talented women's wrestlers. And I believe like 3 or 4 of them occupied this match as well. I've been told to kind of keep an eye out on Leah Sparks, who's somebody that you could tell right away when she comes out. There's like an energy with her. And she's somebody that has got it, and she's got a circus background, as they mentioned on commentary. I believe she was on Canada's Got Talent as part of aerobatics. What is it called? Aerobatics, I think it was. She's part of a team there, and so you could see that translate into the ring. But you know, Chris Starr is another person that's with IWS. Drea Mitchell was somebody that's been trained out of IWS as well. Katrina Creed is also somebody too. She was their women's champion that's come out. So there's a lot of really talented women's wrestlers that are coming through the program there and hitting the scene. And it's making for some really good, fresh matchups. And in terms of the Canadian women's division, I guess, for a lack of a better term, this is probably the best I've seen on the independent scene in terms of the amount of talent on the women's side since I've started joining the scene anyways. It's a really talented women's roster that's accumulating across the indies. So I wanted to check it out for that. It was funny to see Dino Benjamin get a booking there for C4. He's been somebody that's been getting booked around on the local scene here in Ottawa and across the Eastern Ontario Indies. He was also wrestling for Chinlock a bit up in Kingston. So it was cool to see him get a booking, and he did a great job of healing it up and getting the crowd to turn against him. And yeah, as Tanner mentioned, it wasn't a match you're gonna like write home about, but this was more of a showcase, I thought, of just the different talented women's wrestlers that are coming through into the scene right now.
All right, let's just get to the last couple here, and we'll get to a couple other things, Tanner.
For sure. I'll echo what Zach said. I think Leah Sparks was my standout there. But next up, we had our AEW talent coming in for this time. The Butcher taking on Mike Marston. And if I could sum this one up pretty quickly, it was 2 tattooed, meaty men slapping meat.
Oh,
Very
okay.
hard-hitting matchup here. Both men ended up going through doors. Butcher ended up picking up the win in the end, but I thought it was a pretty fun match. I know Butcher's someone that goes way back with C4, and he cut like a pretty passionate promo at the end that I think really hit, where he was like, hey, if it wasn't for C4, I never would have gotten signed. So I owe this a lot to the crowd here. And, you know, I'm going to keep coming back, only for Marston to end up attacking him in the end and kind of get the heat back. But I thought it was a very good matchup. Great seeing Butcher here. And yeah, it was good. Very hard hitting, good affair. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is a fun match. 2 big dudes going at it. Mike Marston, is I mentioned a couple times how he's somebody coming from Montreal, returning to the scene, and he's gotten himself in tremendous shape since he started into the industry. And Butcher is, as you mentioned, somebody that's gone through C4 a couple of times. I got a bit of a laugh because they were brawling to the outside, and I forget who threw who, but somebody was thrown into the wall at the event center there. And I could only imagine Mark's reaction from having to see that, considering it's happened before where a hole has been left in the wall from a match at C4 that Mark was none too happy about. So I could only imagine the thought process going through his head, seeing that spot happen. Fortunately, no hole in the wall for that. But yeah, it was a fun little match with 2 big dudes going at it. And yeah, it was a good little match.
And then what's left, Tanner?
We've got our scramble matchup here.
Ooh,
A bunch of
love
C4.
the scrambles.
Yeah, these are the classic you get at every C4 show pretty well. These are pretty much what sums up what C4 wrestling is. But you had Cheech Hernandez, Hot Stepper McCray Martin, London Lightning. You've got Myung Jae Lee, Pretty Ricky, and Mark Wheeler. That's the last one I was missing there. But really fun. This is the C4, the classic match where they put the 6 to 8 people in there and just let them go off and have some fun. You get your big spots in there, a bit of comedy mixed in. In the end, Hot Stepper did win, getting the pin on Wheeler. There was a point in the matchup where TDT came out and got their revenge on Pretty Ricky. Actually chained him up with like a metal chain by the neck and dragged him out. Looked pretty brutal. So I definitely think we're going to be seeing a rematch there for the tag titles with Puff and Pretty Ricky versus TDT. But yeah, this was a very fun matchup. Really good sequences in there. A couple of double teams that I really liked. London Lightning looked really good. I enjoyed Cheech. Myung Jae Lee was selling like crazy. And yeah, this is what, if I were to describe C4 to someone, I'd show them a match like this.
Yeah, this is a match I wasn't able to catch, but I know just for some, because I know we have some people that have been watching Ring of Honor that going back to the mid 2000s. This is the same Cheech Hernandez that was wrestling on those cards at that time. He's been around the scene for quite a while, also wrestling in C4 quite a while ago as well. I want to say he was wrestling for them late 2000s, early 2010s as well. So he's a veteran on the indie scene, somebody recognizable if you continue to go to indie shows and for a while. So yeah, it sounds like it was, your 6-way scramble match where you want to try and get people on the card and your chance to showcase some wrestlers that you want out there. And considering some of the talents in there, like your Mark Wheelers, your Hot Stepper McCray Martins, not too much of a shock. Myung Jae Lee as well. Not too shocked that this is a match that is on the card.
So that's the entire card, Tanner?
That's it. Yep. You just had your main event after that.
Yeah. So leaving some good stuff before, but leaving, obviously it's the main event that resonates with you. And then we got Creep Show coming up October the 18th.
We do. Yeah. October the 18th. Looking forward to that. Might end up missing that one. That's actually my sister's birthday, but fingers crossed, maybe I'll still be able to catch it. If not the replay for sure. She is in class and she sometimes has the evening ones. So, it might line up where I can make it there, but if not, I'm definitely going to catch the replay on that. But Marcus Mathers is big front and center on the poster there. Violence is Forever, Junior and McCray Martin, Sheldon Jean, Evil Uno, Jody Threat, and Gabriel Fuerza. So I expect we'll be seeing all of them there, although maybe an asterisk next to Junior Benito after one went down there in the main event.
Okay, well, a good start here, I think, in September for C4. And as you said, to kind of set up the season, I think they've done a pretty good job here.
Also add in, that's a Halloween special show, which usually they go all out for. Usually there's a little bit more done with the set. And I specifically remember, I think it was last year or the year before, Fight or Flight coming out in costumes of a peanut butter and jam sandwich.
There you go.
That's what I'm wearing for Halloween.
You and Zach?
No, Zach's not tall enough.
No, oh, come on. Hold on now.
Wait, Zach, did you finally find your leprechaun costume?
No,
I know there's a lot of Spirit Halloweens popping up.
I still have the receipt. I will send you all the receipt.
You know what? While you have the receipt, Tanner really didn't dress up either. So
yeah. So what's Tanner doing trying to accuse me of not dressing up? At least I tried. At least I put the effort in.
No, you're telling people that you did.
I did.
See,
I have the receipt.
Yes. You know what? I had a hell of a costume.
And it was a great costume.
Okay.
I loved your costume.
Some of us get things done, Zach.
I was trying to get it done. It's up to the Party City to have the available leprechaun costume. When I showed up in the Belleville Party City saying, hey, I would like one leprechaun costume, please.
You got your own. I mean, you wear that every day of your life as Hornswoggle.
Just go into your closet.
Why Party City would be involved.
I will say, by the way, somebody did send in a thing. We've talked about them before, but the Toxic Turtles in the WWF, we talked about them a little bit. Somebody said that you and I, Lee, should dress up as the Toxic Turtles for Halloween.
What were their names, though, in particular?
I think it was like Tommy and Terry or something like that.
Oh, I definitely want to be Tommy.
I'll be Terry.
Yeah.
Whatever one's the red with the red bandana over the eyes, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Raphael.
That's right, Raphael. I'll be Raphael.
All right, let's quickly go to just a couple things that have happened. I do want to make mention of that video because it really is, quite frankly, the only thing in the WWE that I even cared about this week. For those who didn't see it, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns met at kind of center field at Georgia Tech football stadium the night before, and Roman Reigns claiming that it was his team, his blood, his sweat, his tears, and if it's his team, that's his stadium. If it's his stadium, then it's his city. And Cody's not very happy about it. What are they setting up here? Zach, what do you think the big picture is here?
I feel like they are planting some seeds for an eventual Cody Roman rematch. Obviously, they kind of had the cinematic video for their partnership at Bad Blood.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me, because you do need a big match for Royal Rumble, that you could do that rematch at Rumble. Obviously, there could be WrestleMania as well if they wanted to do a third times the charm deal with Roman and Cody at WrestleMania. But you also have to kind of throw in what The Rock is going to want to do during that time, and he's going to have a lot of influence. So I think the seeds are planted for an eventual Cody and Roman match in the future, because Cody can't seem to escape the Bloodline storyline, so they will keep him in it. Whether that be at Rumble, I don't see it at Survivor Series. I see that being a clash between Roman's group, and that could include Cody against the new Bloodline with Solo Sikoa at War Games there. So I think they're just kind of planting some seeds right now is what they're doing.
Tanner, do you think they're playing the long game here with Roman and Cody 3? And would you care?
I mean, I don't particularly care either way, but yeah, I assume that's where they're going here. I imagine Cody's going to be on Roman's side for that War Games match, as Zach mentioned. I wonder if they're going to have this in their back pocket for Mania to do the trilogy. Should Dwayne not be available to come and do the Cody match? But otherwise, yeah, I assume we're going to see this at the Royal Rumble or at some other point. It seems like an obvious booking for the WWE, especially to make and do the trilogy here when both guys have the one win. And there's no denying those are your two top stars in that company right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Zach, that I think you got to try and lay it out like The Rock is not going to be involved. And then if he comes in and decides a few things, well, then he decides a few things. And I think you need to have a really good plan without that. And that, to me, is absolutely Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And I want to believe right now that Cody would be the heel, but I'm not sure. Maybe you don't have to have a heel. I don't quite know.
You could certainly do babyface versus babyface with that program. They've done that. Obviously, the WWE has done that before when it comes to having these big mega main events. You could look back to Hogan and Warrior when it comes to two baby faces going at it. I know for Lee, Hogan was the heel in that match, especially with the kick out at 3.1.
What a loser. Why would you bring that up? Why? Zach, I'm already in a bad mood. Why would you bring that up?
Look, I just wanted to provide some context. That's all. I want to make sure the listener is informed.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
right.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's my responsibility as somebody that does a wrestling podcast to inform the viewers and listeners of what happened at WrestleMania 6. So nonetheless, you could still do a big babyface matchup, and you could try and push it as, these two are bigger stars than what they were before, and now it's, one-on-one. Finally, Roman may not have support of the bloodline anymore. Maybe he's on his own, and Cody could bring that up in a promo, and I want you one-on-one, and we're going to have a match one-on-one. But that's something that they could do. And, for me personally, it's not something I'm particularly interested in. I've had my fill of Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, but like what you mentioned there, Lee, and what kind of brought up there with The Rock, it really is dependent on if he's coming back another year. I imagine with his increased role with WWE as a member of the board of directors, that he would be somebody involved at WrestleMania, because now he's got a vested business interest in what goes on with that company. But I still believe we're going to get Cody Rock somehow, some way. It's just they've been planning that stuff for a while when it comes to Cody and Rock, and all the way in the build up to the Cody Roman Reigns match, there was that tease of that. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was practically Cody Rock was the build up during the feud, but I digress. And I think Rock sees the dollar signs in having a match with Cody because it's somebody new he could work with. And I think he recognizes the star power that Cody has. So I obviously there's a lot to look at, and we're kind of looking at it from one video at Georgia Tech where it was all shot like a cinema. Love hearing that word in pro wrestling, as you know, cinema. Mm-hmm. And we'll see where it goes from here, but clearly they still want to do this bloodline deal with Cody being involved, and they still want to be interwoven, and that's how they're going to move forward with it. So
yeah, it seems to me like they're just kind of setting the table, and this is long term for them storytelling. Again, no matter if it's babyface versus babyface, or they decide to do a turn, depending on what Dwayne The Rock Johnson wants to do. Anyway, I don't love it, because it seems like it's going to be a very simple storyline from now through War Games, through Saturday night's main event that's going to happen in Long Island in December, like into the Rumble. It just seems very predictable again here from the WWE. I do want to turn my attention quickly. Tanner, start with you on you caught Dynamite this week?
I actually didn't. Wednesday was my 3-year anniversary with my girlfriend. We were up in Syracuse, and we were at the Cheesecake Factory on Wednesday night.
I have been to that Cheesecake Factory in Syracuse in the mall.
Yeah, we spent a couple of days up there doing the mall and the zoo and a bunch of stuff. So I didn't get to watch Dynamite in full, but caught some of the highlights after. I didn't watch the full show.
Yeah, it's more of the question of like, I don't know, like what are they doing here? It seems like they're trying to stick Will Ospreay in everything and try to hype him up, even though they really don't have any plans. It seems like they're just going down the road here of like somehow the Don Callis family is a family, even though they were never a family. And Will Ospreay told him to screw off, but now he's part of the family again, so they can have like a real breakup. I don't know. I just found this Dynamite, and maybe Zach, you can join me. I found this Dynamite not good. This week at all. Like it didn't advance very much for me whatsoever.
I thought the first hour was a bit rough when it came to Dynamite. I thought it got better in the second hour. Yeah, it feels like we're kind of in a holding pattern before we really get to the big stuff with Grand Slam taking place this Wednesday. And, there's interesting things that they are doing. They've been putting Ricochet in these spots to have these big time matches. He's not been bad, but he's not been this excellent wrestler that I think we've come to expect with him, especially when he was coming into WWE. He was having all these big high profile indie matches. And now this is sort of a company where he could thrive a little bit more in terms of being able to showcase himself a little bit more. And they're going to do the Ricochet versus Will Ospreay match on the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite. There are things that they're put in place that on paper I like on paper, but in terms of execution and the way that we're getting there, it goes back to some of my big critiques with this company right now, where they could be so much better than this. And that's what makes this company frustrating to watch sometimes, because of the roster that they have and the output that they have out there from the company's start 5 years ago now. That we know that they could be a better company, but it seems like we're just kind of in this pattern right now where we're going by it week by week, and we've got some stuff that we want to do for this show and some stuff we want to do for this show, but and it's not necessarily all bad. I don't think what we're watching when it comes to AEW is bad. It's just not the level or the standard that we've become accustomed to with this company. So all that to say, yeah, the stuff with the Don Callis family, like, it just seems like, it's that episode of Friends. They were on a break, Lee. They were on a break, and now they're back together and to do the big breakup and probably do that big angle. So there's stuff in place, and we've gone over Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson and how they're getting there before, so I'm not going to relitigate that. But yeah, it's just a company that could be better than this. That's what's really frustrating with AEW.
Do either of you care about Jeff Jarrett and Adam Page in a strap match?
No.
Wow. No love for JEFF, JARRETT in a strap match?
Maybe like 30 years ago, if
I know.
if I was alive.
Honestly, like, what are they doing, Zach? And I know you love your Jeff Jarrett, but
Love me some Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, but what are they doing?
Yeah, well, in terms of putting him with Hangman, it's one of those deals where, yes, they are telling this story on TV, and this goes back to the Owen Hart stuff with the tournaments. So yes, like, this is not me saying they're not telling a story here, and what are they doing, because they are clearly telling a story, but this is just not the story I want told right now. And it kind of puts Hangman in this holding pattern right now as well on where he could go. I thought the promo he cut was really good. Like, I enjoy this Hangman character a lot. I agree. Like this is really good stuff, but this is very clearly stuff where he's in a holding pattern right now before we get to the bigger stuff down the line.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I hope they get there sooner rather than later with some of this stuff. But if Grand Slam's really good on Wednesday, then maybe we'll have something to talk about. Maybe we'll get back together here for another episode.
That's right. By the way, Chris Jericho once again taking another loss on Dynamite this past week in a 20-minute match. Oh man, that modern day Hulk Hogan, he strikes again. Everybody's just feeling the wrath of the Jericho stir, brother. Just wreaking havoc on this AEW roster and not putting anybody over. Just a sad sight to see.
Modern day Hulk Hogan.
That's right. Quickly before we wrap up here, I wanted to make mention of this because it's coming up pretty soon. I will be coming down to Ottawa this weekend for Remix Wrestling. Their next show is coming up this Saturday at Broadhead Brewery. I will be announcing and calling the matches this upcoming Saturday. So hopefully people will be able to come by and watch the matches. It's a fun time down there at Broadhead Brewery. We always have some very fun crowds there, and the matches are always a fun time as well. So hopefully to see you all there at Remix Wrestling this Saturday. It's all part of a busy week for me anyways there, Lee. I'll be down on Saturday for that. Friday, I've got Golden Hawks hockey. Obviously, we have some Ottawa Senators fans that are tuning in, and some might want to tune in to the Belleville Senators to see what they're doing. They announced a deal with Flow Sports, with Flow Hockey, so you could watch all their games there. But that also means you could watch Trenton Golden Hawks hockey on Flow Hockey as well. So when you're done watching the B-Sens, you could tune in and see what the Golden Hawks are doing in the OJHL. That's happening Friday, on top of the fact I'm hosting the talk show Friday, and on Sunday it's Quinny Skyhawks football. So a lot happening, but for the wrestling audience, hopefully get to see you all at Remix Wrestling this Saturday. A lot of great matches on the card, so I'm looking forward to it.
Tanner, you just covered every event that Belleville's ever had. And,
I know.
Like, apparently Zach's in all of them, which is great. So we look forward to that, Zach. Thanks for announcing to everybody that you're coming into town. We'll all take notice giving us a little warning that you are coming into town.
Thanks for
So-
taking so many bookings up here, man.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate it. But we might be back. Who knows? Depending on the way Grand Slam goes, we could be back later on this week. But if not, Zach, enjoy that. Tanner, as always, the pleasure is ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. For Zach McGibbon and Tanner Reil, I'm Versage. Thanks for listening to another edition of This is Wrestling.